Hey, I'm Ted Santos, and I've been talking to you for years about business. And today, I want to revisit leadership. I've done a number of videos that distinguish between management and leadership. You can find that in my past, in my archives, my past videos. But today, I want to talk about the C-suite and the dilemma of the C-suite. Many people claim to deserve to be a leader. I'm boss. I know how to be a boss. I am a boss person. I know how to get things done and do the job, right? I'm a leader. Well, I want to talk about the C-suite. That's the chief executive officer, CEO, chief financial officer, CFO, chief operating officer, COO, CTO, chief technology officer. The list goes on. CMO, CIO. There are lots of C-level executives in organizations, and those C-levels, they are in the C-suite. Those are your top leaders in an organization. Those are the people that allocate resources. They develop strategy, and they are responsible for the success of the organization. Now, your CEO, if it's a large company and it has a board of directors, it's most likely he's usually, especially a publicly traded company, the CEO is hired by the board of directors or fired if they are not doing a great job. So, and that board of directors is also um, going to be very active in developing strategy and looking at the future, long-term future. They are there to protect the interest of shareholders. That's their job. So they strategy, finance, hiring, firing a CEO, and a CEO is hiring his other C-level executives. So, what is the dilemma that I'm talking about? Well, I sat in this room called Clubhouse, and we were talking about a man leading in a relationship, and it was very interesting to hear people's perspective on what it means to be a leader. And what I gathered, and I made a comment, what I gathered is people had an idea that a leader is, you're the boss, you tell people what to do, you get in there and you make people do it the right way. And when I said leaders don't get paid to tell people what to do, everyone was like baffled, perplexed. And they started asking, well, if you're not telling people what to do, what is a leader's job? And Steve Jobs said it best. He said it doesn't make sense to hire smart people and tell them what to do. He said we hire smart people so they can tell us what to do. So how do you manage smart people? If you want to be a C-level executive and you think it's your job to be there to tell people what to do, most likely you have no idea what it means to be a leader. And second, you may have hired the wrong people, which still is a reflection on your leadership and your ability to distinguish who you need under you to get the job done. So leaders are often asking tough questions. I had an article written by a gentleman by the name of Bob Weissman. Bob is the former CEO of Dun& Bradstreet, another Fortune 500 company. And he wrote an article in my blog that said something about the 90% rule, that as a CEO, your direct reports need to know 90 to 95% of their job. That means 95% of the time, they don't even need you to get their job done. They are leaders. They understand what to do. It's that 5 or 10% where they may get challenged or struggle. They may need additional resources. And they are going to sit down with you as the CEO. So if you're not hiring people who can just nail 90 to 95% of their job without input from you, and they need that 5 to 10%, you most likely hired the wrong people, unless you are going to invest time in coaching your people up so they can get to that point. There's a second challenge if you want to be in it. So I said all that to say, if you're telling your people what to do, you may have the right people and you're not going to keep them, because high performers, people who know how to do 90 to 95% of their job, don't want you on their shoulder micromanaging them. The other thing is that C-suite, that's where possibility comes to life. And think about possibility, like the possibility of flying to the moon is so abstract. Like you don't see exactly how it's going to be done. When John F. Kennedy declared a man to the moon before the end of the decade, he was declaring a possibility into reality. And he didn't say, well, you're going to build a rocket and you're going to do this and all these things. That wasn't his expertise. And there are many CEOs who declare this possibility. We're going to create, I mean, if you look at Apple Computer, we're going to create a device that makes the Walkman obsolete. Out comes an iPod. So if you're in the C-suite, you need to be really comfortable and powerful in conversations about possibility, which means you need to be comfortable in talking about abstractions and then transforming those abstractions into concrete reality. The problem is lots of people take abstract ideas, vision, as theoretical abstract ideas, and most people want to, like, let's get down to the brass nails, to the concrete. That's where people are comfortable. Talking possibility and developing strategy around possibility is not very comfortable. So, there lies two dilemmas. One is you want to be a leader and you believe leaders are there to tell people what to do. Two, you want to be in that C-suite and you are going to be having conversations with a CEO who may be considered a master of possibility and creating possibilities, or finding people within the organization who have thought of and created possibility and them being able to allocate resources to help bring that possibility to life. Like, so if we go back to John F. Kennedy, he didn't come up with the idea of sending the man to the moon. There were some physicists who had this idea that they could use atomic energy and they could create enough explosive energy to get a machine, a rocket, a ship, some kind of flying device. They could get it with enough explosive energy. They can get it out the Earth's gravitational pull and send it off to the moon. So they sat down with Kennedy and said, hey, we believe we can do this. We're going to need a hell of a lot of resources. So, NASA was one of the things that Kennedy created. He created a budget. He allocated resources for it. So it wasn't his idea. He was able to take people who had brilliant ideas and create that possibility with them, and then develop strategies and resources to get there. So CEOs are doing this. And if they're not, if they're just dealing with everyday, like in the weeds, hard, reality, things you can touch and feel, if that's all they're dealing with, they're just going to maintain the organization. There'll be nothing innovative that comes out of the company. And, that will eventually take you down the path of obsolescence, because someone's going to disrupt you. And I guess you can be a copycat. That's one way to run your operation. So if you think of it, your job in the C-suite, the CEO, here's your playing field. Your business is to get all these things done. And the CEO's job is to walk you off the cliff out here where there's nothing, right? This is flying a man to the moon. This is creating the iPod or the iPhone. This is creating something that doesn't exist. It only exists as a possibility. And as a C-suite, your job is to bridge that gap, right? So the CEO says, hey, we're going out here. Here's the possibility. You're now, as a C-suite, you've got to build a bridge out to where the CEO is. that allows the rest of the company to walk out there to turn that possibility into reality. So that means you've got to have some strong legs and some strong muscle for being able to transform abstractions into reality that are desirable, marketable products and services. And if you're not that kind of person, this is going to be a dilemma. So, in just a quick note, you guys know I've written this book, Here's Why You Can't Find Love. It was written to solve a problem that corporations are dealing with. Is every year corporate America is losing over $300 billion in workplace productivity because of divorce. And so if you think about leadership and women say, well, I want a man who can lead me, and her idea of leadership is telling someone what to do, and she's saying, well, I want to be able to lead you too, meaning I want to be able to tell you what to do. Leadership in an organization or in any relationship is not about telling people what to do. It's about asking questions. It's about being able to tease out the brilliance that maybe the person doesn't know how to get out on their own. It's about creating, and I've said this in my video, CEOs, their job is to intentionally create problems for others to solve. There's a great video where in Apple, Steve Jobs tells one of his people, I want you to create this device. It should be about this big. It should have this kind of functionality. Steve Jobs did not show this guy what he wanted. He abstractly described creating a device that's a certain size, certain functionality, and it should be for the computer. And the guy who was responsible for translating Jobs' abstract idea into a product in an interview said the first thing he thought is Steve Jobs must be on drugs. Like, what is he asking me to do? What did he take today? And then he said he thought, well, now I have a job to do, so let me go work on what he said. And he goes to the store and he looks for certain products to find something that's this size and bop, 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 bop. Most people never guess what that was. What it was it was the computer mouse. So Steve Jobs gave someone an abstract idea and said, I need you to take this idea and translate it into something that's functional. And the first computer mouse was made of wood at Apple. So this is a mindset that is absolutely imperative to be able to sit down with your CEO and for him to be able to say, here's my abstract idea. I need you to now translate it into something that's marketable. And the same goes in your relationships. There are ideas, there are conversations that you have that allow you as a couple to move forward beyond where you are now. That's what organizations do. But here's the problem. If you are of the mindset that a leader dictates and tells people what to do, that's the job of a leader. A good leader is tough and they tell people what to do. And you're in a relationship and you believe that's what your spouse is there to do, to lead you and tell you what to do, you are going to be in constant conflict with yourself. You're going to be sitting there saying, don't you tell me what to do because I don't want to be dominated. So you're going to be there with your shield to protect you and your knife to attack back. And you're married to the person. And your mindset is in constant defense mode because you don't want to be dictated and dominated and told what to do. So you've got your whole arsenal of weapons to protect you in a relationship that's supposed to be built on love. And the interesting thing is, when you get into a corporation, it's really the same thing. So you think the CEO or you're there to tell people what to do and you don't want to be told what to do, yet you believe that's your job to tell people what to do and you don't want to be dominated and controlled by someone. So this puts people in constant conflict with themselves. So if you have made it to the C-suite and you understand this, kudos, good job on your part. right? You're translating abstractions. You understand that you're coaching people up. You're helping to pull the best out of your people, and creating problems for them to solve gets them to make quantum leaps that they would not have done on their own. If you are struggling in the C level, contact me. Santos at turnaroundip.com. That's Santos at turnaroundip.com. IP is like intellectual property. And let's have a conversation about coaching you up to become an extraordinary leader. And if you are someone who has your eye on the C-suite, and you are of this old mindset, which actually never worked, let's have a conversation about what it takes to coach you up and get you to that next several levels so that you are prepared to be a C-suite executive. Wanted to have this conversation, been on my mind for a while, and as you see, it can be in your professional life or your personal life, and none of us gets the opportunity to peel off a layer that goes home and then zip it up when we go to work. We're someone else. Who we are is who we are. So, I mentioned being in conflict with yourself. Conflict resolution is a major part of being an effective leader, because you are always dealing with some sort of conflict if you're creating problems for people to solve, or you are translating abstractions into concrete reality. For some of your people, there may be a conflict, so you're going to need to be able to navigate people through the sort of chaos and the problems that you intentionally create. Chaos is really not chaos. It's something that's occurring, and how you manage that occurring will dictate whether you're a champion or you're just going to get average results. Love to hear your thoughts on this conversation. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back with more conversations about leadership. Take care.